potentially revenue. If they rented that space out, you
The
know.
only thing is that that part is part of the park. That's the one. They have to be careful, like you just can't rent to other people. To that park, I mean, the chamber's line is supposed to be in the park, according to the book.
Right, but the chamber does own that building, right? Yeah. And it wouldn't be a, for profit, so it would fit the nonprofit
Right.
piece. And then the money,
So I'm
the
just saying,
income
like,
would then
that
go
should
to another
park,
nonprofit
Right, it should go to the park commission.
with the approval.
Yeah, I would say. What would you say, Joe?
Yes. I think the park commission should
Yeah.
review it.
Anything that happens in the park should go through the park commission.
Okay. So Daryl.
Yes, good morning.
Okay, you're like the key speaker on this topic. We're looking for an update on the attainable housing project that you've been working on.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Primarily working with Camoin and Matthew Terre and John Wazaleski on their projects that they're looking at. And also looking at the resources for both the town and the private sector, looking at the usual suspects in seeing if there's anything to craft through the latest through ARPA with USDA Rural Development, and also a couple additional programs with MISHA, or the Maine State Housing Authority, trying to find that niche to make this project work based on that piece. The lead property still is the 5.2 acre parcel on Cross Street that John Wazaleski and Matthew Terre paid an option through M&H for that property. So they're working on the zoning piece, looking at what the density would look like in the makeup, if it's all workforce attainable rental housing, or if it's a little bit of a mix with some home ownership of attainable as well. And part of that is to try to match that up to funding sources to make that project fly. So that's the lead in with that. Their marketing analysis of the greater Rangeley region is still in progress. Everything seems to always take a little bit longer, but sometime this fall that will be available. And they're looking forward to presenting to the Rangeley Region Economic Opportunity Committee, and that followed up by scheduling a meeting with the select board. There are a couple other sites they're looking at as well. One is through Don Smith, who owns that lodging unit up towards IGA up that way. There's a parcel across the street that may work well for a mixed use project. They're looking at that one. And there's a third location, but I can't remember which location that is. There seems to be a lot of positive momentum for the attainable housing piece. They've also met with the Saddleback folks and looking at what they're needing. And some of that, the Saddleback has their own version of what they may do. But that being said, the primary focus of the workforce housing group is to be right in walkable downtown Rangeley. And they haven't ruled out Aquasic either. They're actually looking there too. So that's where we are with that. I think in the next few short weeks, say 4 weeks or so, the report will be done and we'll be further along with the Cross Street parcel, what's going to happen there, and also the funding mechanism. So I feel optimistic that something's going to give. And this is one of those problems that's been on the books for years and years and years, and no community has seemed to have solved it. Because if you find that niche where you're going to be able to make it work financially, then you get stuck sometimes going into these other programs with the housing credits and this and that. Then you end up in Section 8, the really low income housing, and that's not on the table at all. So what needs to happen is through maybe some of this additional funding that seems to be available as they're printing money, I'll leave it there, that the niche might be there. And what they're looking at through the town, they want to do public outreach, i.e. first, present the survey and what their project or projects plural would be, say they're looking at doing a couple projects for housing. And then get the community buy-in, no flim flam, just say this is what we like to do. Will the town support this? And they're not saying, will the town support this financially, but they're saying, you know, addressing the need because workforce attainable housing is so important that the town at least would stand by this and you know, put 2 thumbs up, whether that, you know, they're not saying anything financial. So that's where we are with that. I still feel pretty optimistic about this. I think if this pilot project can work here, then other people might want to model it other places. And there's Carabasset and other talk of housing in the region as well. So that's where we are with attainable housing.
You guys have any questions?
Concerns?
It appears like we're at the same spot that we have been at for months. Yeah, 6 months or more.
And you said it's not section 8 at all.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. They're looking at doing a moderate market rate housing project. And what that means, because you're not going into that low income section 8, but you're doing moderate income and affordable without using the word uppercase affordable, attainable, is sometimes you have to figure out, okay, if there's a 20% you know, additional cost by doing this, by not going into the section 8 piece, then that has to be subsidized somewhere, whether the private investment group will subsidize this because they feel they can get a return on their investment, but it doesn't have to be a quick return, maybe, you know, patient return on that. And then also some of the other programs, because workforce is becoming more of a priority for housing, that 1 or 2 of these other funding sources might plug in, we'll call it the 20% gap on a $3 million project, let's say.
How do you make sure that it is going to be workforce renting there? It's not just going to be somebody that moves up here and.
Yeah, and they don't want to have, you know, some people do what they call the short-term housing. We just, you know, put people somewhere for X number of weeks or months. No, they want this to be long-term, and the whole philosophy behind this is year-round residents that maybe they're working at one place of employment, or they're working at Saddleback and then infilling into the other openings the rest of the year in Rangeley and Quasic. But that's the goal. They seem pretty focused on that. And Wasilewski is a little bit on in years now, and he's becoming more philanthropic on some things, not that he's giving things away, but it's a feel-good project. We just need to break ground, I guess, and see if we can get this cranked up as soon as possible.
I have, go ahead.
Daryl, real quick, I think we talked about this before, just to kind of go off what Shelley said. What keeps this attainable housing labeled as? What stops these guys from a year on the road or 2 years on the road, 3 years, 5, 10, whatever, where they're potentially the market doesn't work out how they want it to? What stops it becoming section 8 or anything else?
I don't think I can't say 100%, but that's not on the table. They don't, this is not their mission at all. They do not want to do that. And the only way that some of this housing might get some type of a financial break would be if they factor in some senior housing, which they've done several of those projects. So I think that down the road, that might be a phase 3, let's say. But they don't want to do a bait and switch and all of a sudden they hoodwink us and then come in and their trailers are all lined up coming into town. No, that's not what they want to do.
Good question, and I think maybe when we get farther along with them, we specifically ask the developers, what are they gonna do to assure us that that's.
Yeah, obviously, I know for me, obviously, I have a, you know, this is separate thing I have to come to as a butter, obviously, and understand that process and voice my differences rather than a professional opinion. I just trying to get some of this stuff clear, you know, clerical
Right.
ideas out that, you know, for me, if you come in and something doesn't work, and if a simple application change with the state, and also I can get more money coming in, then I'm gonna adapt my housing to be like, I'll take whoever as long as my rent's paid.
Right.
You know, that's not our goal, obviously.
Yeah, Keith, they want to be selective too, because they're aware of the sensitivity in your neighborhood on that cross street area. And they realize that, well, not everybody's in that neighborhood necessarily enthused about it. So they really want to almost do like a neighborhood meeting, and they want to do this the right way. And certainly some things that can be done are some type of articulation agreement that, legal document that says, this is what it is and so forth. So that's not uncommon to have some of those guarantees or assurances, down the road. But we're not there yet. I think once we get to the point where it matches up with the zoning and building code requirements and the project is scoped out a little bit more to better say what the density will be, whether it's 25 units or whatever the case may be. That's what they're going to be working on over this fall and winter, is to sort of lay that out and see what that'll match up with project design and so forth.
Go ahead.
I have a question, Daryl. The work that Camoy is doing,
Mm-hmm.
in that study, will they give some estimation of the number of total units we should be looking at as a community?
Yes.
And the
Yes.
reason I ask that is I wonder, how are we gonna gauge our success with the number of units? Is there a target number? Should we be looking at 100 or 150? How do we know where we're really at in terms of progress until we know what the goal is? So that's my question. How do we quantify that? Is that in progress? Can you answer that question?
Yes, that is one of the takeaways from this analysis. And that's partly why, until they finish that analysis piece, that sort of would be the good housekeeping seal that it says, oh, yes, we can do this. Or heaven forbid, the analysis says, we can only, looks like maybe only half of what we thought. That's all going to come out in that report, Joe.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I have two questions. You've mentioned zoning multiple times. Is our current zoning working in opposition to the plans for this development? There's zoning changes required? Or is it just figuring out what the zones are to build appropriately?
Yeah, it's yes to all of the above. No, they've already met with Bailey and town officials, and they're just trying to flesh it out. Some of the zoning requirements might have to do with, well, what's the density allowed for a particular parcel based on that. And that's where they're trying to match that up with what they need to see, okay, this project, we thought we can do 32 units, but the zoning says we can only do 20 or 25. That's what they're working on right now. And so those things will be worked out. We just don't know what the exact conclusion will be until this process plays out a little bit over the weeks ahead.
Oh, so this realistically isn't gonna hit touch, if it does come to fruition, it won't break ground until 23. realistically, right? 20. Is that the thought at this point?
Sounds like we're many years down the road.
Yeah, Joe.
Daryl, the question is, how soon could build out occur on Cross Street? If
Well,
the stars align?
The intent is they would break ground in 22, and either they finish it in 22 or it would be finished by 23. That's the latest I heard.
Right, so, just technically, if there was a zoning change that had to go to the people, it would have to go to the people for a vote. And that would be in June, right? So and then you have to go, what is it, 60 days back? Or 30 days for any kind of, so.
Couple of months.
So you would have to bring that to the selectmen, have it approved by the selectmen to go on the ballot question by the January, February time would be when you will have those conversations. I'm just letting you know, Daryl. So if there is anything that says that, and have them remember that any zoning change would affect the street, not just the one location, right?
Yes.
Because there would be a district change, you would be changing the downtown commercial, you would, so then their proposal could fly, but so then could others, so it could be an added conversational piece. I'm not trying to make this more like, oh my God, we're never gonna be able to do it, because we still need housing. I mean, we can't just always say no to everything, right? We have to sometime, one day say yes, or we have to start limiting the size of our facilities, right? Because we won't ever be able to staff them. Right, so those are just some things to think about. The other question I have is, we had talked at one point, and you had talked about it as well, about asking for a TIF, this to be a TIF,
Yes,
or part of the TIF process, and I'm assuming that Des Moines would really be looking for that tax abatement to help them fund this project. Is that correct?
that's partially correct. They haven't indicated that they need to do that. It's just TIF is always on the table to be discussed. And it may be the last piece possibly down the road. And one of the good things about TIF, especially if you're looking at any type of affordable housing TIF, which we don't have, but we do have some TIF allowed uses with our current TIF, is that it's all performance based. So if you do a credit enhancement agreement, that comes after the facilities are constructed. And so there wouldn't be any of this quote TIF upfront money, because TIF doesn't work that way. And that would only be a small piece, if at all, with that. So it's not a high priority for them, but it would be considered, sure.
So my guess though is if it were to be considered for TIF, that we would look at it as a, instead of the differential and appraisal between the lot before and the lot after, we would give that tax break that for that particular project would go in some sort of split between the town and the developer.
That's correct. That's how a credit enhancement agreement works. And everybody comes out ahead, because if the development wasn't there in the first place, then you're only going to get a certain level of tax.
Right, yeah, I got it. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I add?
So, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm walking in and out, so I'm only getting a little bit. So you had mentioned, if there's any changes to chapter 38, it actually has to go to the planning board first. They have to look at any changes, and then they themselves have to hold public hearings before it goes to the selectmen, just FYI.
That's correct. I'm aware of that. Yep. It's all part of that process, Rebecca, as you know.
I just let you know that adds more time to.
Oh, yeah. It's always an extra 60 days, no matter how you slice it.
Is there any consideration, and it might be a cost issue, I understand that, Daryl, but instead of having 25 in one spot, putting like a 10 unit at one spot, 10 units, spread the units out?
Yeah, they're looking at that as we speak, Kate, and that's where they're trying to figure out, how do they, quote, get a return on their investment that's reasonable? It doesn't have to be upfront. We need to do this. But density is important in order to be able to make the project fly in the first place. So that's being considered. That's why they're also looking at a couple other land parcels as well. And they may do a phase one where they don't dive into the water, but they wade in up to their waist, and they figure, well, maybe we'll do a lesser number on this site. And there are other people around town, as you are aware, are doing housing projects of various types. And there's a couple more duplex type of things where they're going to have that for workforce housing. I know Craig Sargent's doing some things, and others. So I think finally we're getting close, and this always has been one of the priorities, along with broadband and a couple other things, to get this done. So I think they're going to consider all those options, Kate.
Yeah, I guess when we get closer, not now, but when we're starting to try to communicate to the public and about what's going on, we really do need to understand like what the other components are. So we're building a complete picture for people. And then, I mean, like, I don't know anything about anybody else's development, right? So I would be like, oh, if I knew somebody was building it and I needed rentals for 3 people that I was trying to hire or whatever, I'd be calling those people going, right? So
Right.
I'm sure everybody is.
Mhm.
And so it would be nice to know how we can help facilitate finding, places for people.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to when we can just have that resource out there and we say, oh yeah, we have a spot here for you and you and you, and that's what we all would like to see, so.
The other thing that we need to be very cautious of, because it's an incredibly important project, but Keith is right, there's a lot of things that are what ifs, and there's a lot of concerns, and especially family, neighborhoods and things like that about who and what, and Maine state law and any state law would not allow you to evict somebody just because they played their music too loud, or, right? So these things take forever, and like you saw in the pandemic, they take years, right, to actually evict somebody who's been a problem child, right? So there's some issues. So the pros and cons and having a good list so people can make an informed decision on if the pros outweigh the con, will be important to see something like this move forward. That's my 2 cents.
Mhm.
Any other comments on attainable housing? The broadband update is the same. We're still on hold as far as the grant process. Tonight, there is a quarterly meeting of all the selectmen and appraisers, assessors, I guess they're called, not appraisers, up at in Dallas, right?
Correct.
So
It's 6 o'clock.
It's at 6 p.m.
6 o'clock. So I had talked to Joe earlier about maybe not going, but then I was talking to Laura today, and we're just trying to determine who's gonna take the lead in trying to talk to. I mean, I think everybody else is all on the same page that we need to start having negotiations for a strong plan B consideration if we do not get the grant. Except for, we've heard in the past that Rangeley Plantation doesn't really wanna get involved at all until after the decision is made. So part of this.
I think they more or less want all the information in front to be able to present it to their taxpayers, because they feel that they can't make that decision.
Right, but they have to actually attend a meeting to say what they want in the
Right.
proposal, and if they say they
Won't even attend the meeting.
won't even attend the meeting, then they're saying that they don't want any input. So when it's presented to them, when they say, I don't like any of that, right?
Right.
It would have been better to know that 3 months ahead of time so we could negotiate what should be in it, right?
Right.
So we were all in agreement as to what's in there.
Yeah.
So I think they're misunderstanding, like that we're gonna tell them what to put in it, or the lawyers are gonna tell them, but we're trying to say, like, for an example, Bubba does not believe that Rangeley Plantation has 17% of the physical infrastructure, or whatever the number they put in,
Right.
right? So he's gonna argue that he should pay for 5% and Rangeley should pay for 80%.
But again, no one's paying.
Nobody's paying, but that would be how the
Right.
distribution of the, bond, right?
Right.
And what I'm saying to him is at the end of the day, at end of 20 years, then you're only gonna own 5% and get a revenue stream off that 5%.
Right.
And Rangeley's probably legally can't even do it because it's physically in Rangeley Plantation.
Right.
So we have to use the numbers that were provided by the people, the engineers that are. So we just need to, I guess, have those open dialogue conversations, and it would be better if we had it all hashed out. So if we needed to go to a lawyer, now the quote from the lawyer is like $1,700 to get this done, to write this thing. And if we had all the information to them, and it takes, I don't know how long it takes, but my experience so far has been it's gonna take forever, because they're not gonna do it until they, it takes 2 minutes, but they're gonna do it 3 months from now. We can't keep postponing.
So who's running, what is the agenda for tonight? I guess it's really
Yeah.
the question. What is the agenda? How are we gonna work through these issues and make sure we just don't?
Do we do the agenda, or does Dallas,
Uh,
if they're hosting?
I sent it out the other day, let's see if I can get it on the screen. The agenda does not get into a lot of detail, I can tell you that.
So aside from the agenda, how are we gonna get through the detail? Because I feel like we go to these meetings and we have an agenda without much detail, and then we never get much detail done, and
this is the time where we're supposedly gonna have everyone there. And have we confirmed who's gonna be there? Have we confirmed who's gonna be there? Because if no one's gonna be, if only Liz is gonna be there for Rancho Plantation, you're not,
Right.
it's no reason to have a meeting.
Is she one of the selectmen?
No.
She's the town,
She's just,
she's town clerk. But, so she doesn't have the decision, right, and, so she has been attending and, Carrie. But Scott Milbury and Steve Power have not, and they both indicated that, you know, they wanna move forward. And Carrie has indicated that he's not even sure it's necessary. That's his personal opinion, I think he knows that his constituents, though, wanna move forward. But,
Right.
I think that's, I mean, we can wait till November, but then you're never gonna get broadband,
Right.
right? So you're gonna go back down on the bottom of the list to,
I have an update on broadband. I did 3 different broadband webinars, and the last one was on the 22nd. And I wanted to make sure I was plugged in so that I can join all of the Maine Connectivity Authority meetings, which is the new entity with the millions of dollars. And Peggy Schaefer did a great presentation on that. She spoke very highly of the Rangeley Region project. And she said that out of the NITA pool of money, 288 million, but she just said, well, there were 2.8 billion in requests.
yeah, that's why we're having a problem. That's why.
That's why we.
That, I
think it's a
mean,
small chance.
the federal government's going to allot 10% of the requested bids.
Yeah,
And to assume that Maine is gonna be in that 10% is a reach.
yeah.
I mean, the odds have just dramatically gone down where. Or for the full amount, I mean, let's say they did give Maine and they said, well, you've asked for 23 million, but we're gonna give you 5, right?
Yeah.
That wouldn't, then we're right back to where Rangeley needs Plan B to move forward if we wanna get broadband.
Yeah, and I asked her about that because I spoke with her on a private conference call as well. And she said, though it's very competitive, she still is at least cautiously optimistic that some funds might come. There were 3 or 4 other communities that the state of Maine submitted as well under the program. But again, she spoke highly in another meeting about the Rangeley project, and she indicated that there are these next wave of funding, 6.3 million from Connect Maine, and they're still trying to carve out some of the other infrastructure monies. And so with the Maine Broadband Coalition as well, that might open up, they talked about something called connectivity boosters. I'm still trying to figure out what that is, but keep our fingers crossed. I think win, lose or draw, if this big grant doesn't go through Sarah that helped out through CCI, that we may be able to carve out some funding and have a plan C, which might still be, okay, we've got to do the interlocal, we've got to look at this and not just wait for the paint to dry, but make something happen, and we still might be able to offset some of the expense. So I'm going to keep the glass half full for now.
Right, but even as you said, in order to get any funding other than this big deal, we are gonna need to have an interlocal agreement.
And I think the next step, back to your original question, is which attorney do we want to use? Because the way we left it at the last meeting was our attorney was $2,500 and Dallas was 17. I think that the next question is, which law firm do we want to use? And who's going to be working on this day to day? Do we revive the delegates, or do they reassign new delegates? I think that's probably the way it's going to work, is having delegates working on it week to week to kind of pinpoint what that interlocal agreement is going to say. And then it's coming back to those folks with an interlocal agreement drafted up. And I know that took some time, but I think now we'll know, and this is a question of mine way back at the beginning, who is involved. So we need to know who is going to be in this interlocal agreement. this does make a difference for negotiating. But tonight, I think we pick which attorney, and we pick out who are gonna be the delegates working, you know, in the interim, the week to week, day to day, to work with the attorney to fine tune this. To me, those are the next steps.
That makes sense, Joe.
$2,500, let me just be clear though, the $2,500 is to write it up once, but it's with the assumption that there'll be some data contributed from us, correct?
Yes.
All right, so so are we gonna be asking for them to spend the $2,500 before the November deadline? To get, or we do the data gathering until the November deadline, and then we are ready to go with the attorney November 20th or whatever the day is, we hear Plan A didn't work, and then we call and we send the attorney a heads up, we're gonna be calling you on November 20th, but we potentially don't have to spend a dime until.
Do we have a list of the questions that need to be answered, or do we need to go to the lawyer to get those questions? In other words, do we have a list of what the delegates are working on? We need to determine the percentage to each town, we need to do this. Do we know that list?
Well, that's been our issue all along, we kept I mean, I guess there's.
So how do we get that list without paying a lawyer, or do we have to pay a lawyer to get that list?
So we can get the list, but I think we need to figure out from the attorney what needs to be plugged in there. And then
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
do some of that legwork. You have a very good question about timing.
Right,
I think it does make sense to wait until the 19th.
But we could get the list
Right.
now.
In
work
terms
on
of
it.
spending any money
but can we get that list? You said we do have to go to the attorney for that list.
for the framework. And I think there might be one out there. I think Linda might have done that actually in Dallas. I think she
That
might
was
have
a-
done this.
So the problem we were having, which is complicated for us, was everybody who's done this before had it with different expectations involved in it, right? It wasn't exactly the Rangeley area
Right.
version, right? Some of them, because they were running their own utilities.
Mhm.
And I do remember the lawyer saying, a lot of it said, see the bylaws, right? And that's where the rules were, and then the bylaws were written by the interlocal agreement once it was formed. But the recommendation from, I think, the lawyer, and I would agree, would be to have the rules in the agreement, right? Because then you're adding an extra step, so now you have to go, you have to have your communities all vote on a interlocal agreement. You have to select officers, you have to have a meeting for your bylaws, then you have to get that all done. Now, I mean, maybe that doesn't take long, I don't know, but
Three
three
meetings,
meetings,
yeah, because we
So-
have to review it 3 times, correct, Joe?
so 3 meetings. But could the 3 meetings be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, or does it have to be like, yeah, every other? Well, whatever, so if we put the rules in the interlocal agreement in the first place, then we wouldn't be referring to, or at least the majority of them.
Right. And I see these discussions as items that the delegates would kind of hash out, you know, in the interim weeks, and then share with the attorney when the time is right.
I'd like to add one other item too, with the ARPA monies. And Joe and Rebecca, I trust you did your grant portal and got your first installment. And, but broadband is allowed for those funds to be used. And also Franklin County is getting a pretty good stash of cash, and has the Rangeley and the plantations thought about approaching Franklin County for an infusion of some investment in the broadband?
So I went there a couple months ago and shared with them what the topics were at the time. Housing was number one, but broadband certainly came up in that meeting with the commissioners. From what I understand, they're trying to get somebody who's a supervisor of those funds or something like that to kind of help them navigate it, so.
So
Yeah,
what I've heard from the Maine in general on all of that is every single community went to their ARPA thing and said, we want money for broadband and projects, right? So they said, great, broadband's right up there, but most of what the county is expecting is more monies to be coming from other areas.
Right.
So they wanted that specific money to be used for things like water treatment facilities,
Mhm.
road, so I think I think broadband, they're thinking there might be an alternative way to get to there.
Mhm.
Where some of these other things for public safety, they're not. That was what I heard on the news, so that's
Yeah, because the
as good as
state's
the
got
news
a,
report.
a large amount that they're setting aside just for broadband.
Right.
But I thought that it was the intent of, the governor to put it in and make sure those areas that weren't covered do get covered. So I thought that they were the ones that were actually taking priority in that, not just for Portland to get an upgrade,
Right.
Yep.
because they wanted it to reach the rural areas more, because that's where it was missing,
The broadband,
the broadband.
right, so, but that's different buckets, not the
Right.
ARPA money, right?
Right,
Yeah.
so then a lot of people were saying, well, why would you use the Franklin money
Right.
if
For-
the state is handling that and they have more
That's
money?
right, that's
That's
what,
what she just
yeah,
Yes, yes, that's what you're saying.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So.
That's generally the trend, that's
Yeah.
kind of what's going on.
So I'm assuming that ARPA money, but that will come up on tonight,
Sure.
I'm sure they'll say, well, who's been to the county and why haven't you talked about
And
it?
who else was did anyone from the plantations attend that meeting as well with you? Did you see any?
Can't remember, there were a lot of towns that were there, but I don't remember seeing any of our immediate plantation neighbors there, but I did, whether it was authorized or not, I kind of spoke on their behalf about the housing. Broadband came up for the whole county. There was a subsequent meeting, I don't know if any of them went to that follow-up meeting. I don't remember anybody being in the room that day with me from the plantation.
All right, so why don't we, I guess we need to finalize if we're going to attend, right?
Well, I still don't understand what this, like the strategy, how we're gonna get Rangeley Plantation to agree to even do a delegate meeting.
Well, at some point, the onus is on them to either participate or not, right? They're aware of it, I
Right.
have left at least one
So
voice.
I guess really what my question is, are we gonna are you gonna present where we are? Is that how the meeting's gonna start, and how are you gonna get to this is what we think the next steps are?
That's how I envision it.
Okay.
Yeah, just the follow.
And you're gonna do that,
Probably, yes.
okay.
So does I think what you guys just said, Laura's question and your comment of their onus to come forward, but that onus obviously affects the remaining 3 plantations or entities. Because once that agreement is drawn up, those numbers become different, right?
Right.
So that obviously then becomes back on everybody else to understand how much funding is. If Plan B has to come, how much funding do you need if Rangeley Plantation backs out?
Right.
So I mean, obviously, it's a crucial point, before sooner than later, they have to come to a very quick onus to understand what the impact is to the rest of everybody else. Is how I see it in my mind right now. Because
Let alone their stakeholder, whatever, residents.
Right.
Constituents, yeah.
Right, so,
So I guess what answers need to be answered with a yes or no, not a I'm not gonna think about it answer, or we'll wait till the next meeting answer, is does Rangeley want to participate if Plan A, which is getting the grant, falls apart? And we have to go to Plan B, will Rangeley Plantation, will all of the plantations in Rangeley participate in an interlocal agreement to go forward with the original proposal? And am I saying this weird? I'm trying because you're looking at me like, and then the second one was, if yes, will they work with the delegates to get all of the information as much as we feel comfortable we can get in a month's time frame to get a kickstart on Plan B if Plan B is required? Right? And will they commit to participation? Yeah,
Okay, so,
is that,
no, that's right, but my other question is, if it just costs $1,700 to go into the local agreement, how much does each plantation contribute
no more than
to,
$500?
to, the economic development?
How do they determine who's gonna do what?
I would say 25% each, $500. not to,
Right.
if they go with Dallas's, it's not to reach 2,500, it's not to exceed $500. And if it goes with Rangeley, it won't be to exceed whatever that number is, $650.
Yeah, I guess I still am grappling with how, maybe it's just the details, but to me, we need to paint the picture that makes it obvious to Rangeley Plantation that they need to go to this meeting. That's what my concern is. How are we gonna paint the picture? Because again, we're gonna have them question, well, wait.
No,
We're going
Gordon's
for
not
this
gonna
grant, why
answer.
are we not waiting for the grant? And I think we need to paint the picture that it's a really slim chance of getting the grant. It's only gonna cost $1,500 to do this next step.
I
I just wanted to say that. I wanted to see him, but he's busy.
Yeah, give me a second.
That's where I'm coming from. I just want to make sure we have the rights, that it's presented correctly so that it's really hard for them to say no.
Well, it was at the last meeting that we were at the fire station. It was basically us telling them, it's either the plan A or plan B, let's get lined up for both.
And
That's
then
what
they
they presented.
submitted a response to that and they said, we do not feel comfortable with going forward.
Without having a dollar amount. That's how I took it.
No, we told them the dollar amount.
Mhm.
And then they replied to that, we don't feel the need to move forward at this time until after the grant. That's how I read it, because Linda came back with, this is the dollar amount from Dallas and that they can go forward. And Liz's response from Carrie was that they don't feel the need to do that. That's where that's how I understood it.
So the story has changed in that it looks like there's less of a chance of us getting the grant. We thought that it was gonna be a little easier to get a grant, at least I did, and now it looks like there's really a
Right.
slim chance of us getting the grant, correct?
Yeah, I think that's before they knew the amount of requests, that actually came in. Once they processed it, they realized it was 10 times the amount of that money was available. So,
Yeah, so it seems like that should be the new news as the presentation begins. This is what the deal is. It's even a slimmer chance than we thought of getting the grant. We really need to move to Plan B, and this is what we need to do Plan B.
But if we need to get an answer from them. That's my problem, is we leave and they don't answer, and then all of a sudden, the rest of us are going, well, why are we working on this? If are we pretending they're involved and they're not, or we should work on refiguring the numbers without them.
Yeah, and what would be the deadline for that? In my mind, it goes back to November 20th. I mean, if they need to know, everybody needs to know by that date.
We need to know way before then because we want to work on it. I thought.
I mean, we do wanna work on it, that's the whole point. So why would we work on it, assuming Rangeley Plantation's in, if they're out? Then we have to redo the whole thing.
So what other deadline would we impose?
We need to
Now,
know within
tomorrow
the week.
tonight.
Yeah, if they don't have enough people there, then what?
You can't say the deadline's tonight, that won't work.
No, but they have meetings on Monday, right?
Well,
So it would
the
be the next-
problem is their public voted to go into
I know.
conversations for an interlocal agreement.
Okay.
And they're saying they don't want them.
And they're saying they don't, yeah, I'm not gonna get into that, but $500 is, they can spend $500, they spent more than that to oppose.
Yeah, that's
being
okay.
recorded, so,
Yeah,
I would give them a deadline of October. When's their next selectmen?
today's the
meeting?
27th,
there's our
So
own
1
day,
week.
so who knows, they pull them whenever they want.
because
so.
we're gonna start having delegate meetings.
So tell them the 15th, and that gives you.
That Friday before,
The problem is,
Columbus,
Because
I don't even know what's
that
going on.
gives you a month, then that gives a month ahead to start getting the information gathered. That should be fine, yeah.
Deadlines, give them a deadline, and
Is this gonna be first on the agenda so we can talk
I
about
think that's all
broadband?
there is, on the
and then
agenda.
we-
That's all there is.
Yeah,
See?
it's definitely the first one, and then there'll be reports later down for each community to talk about what's going on.
Okay.
But broadband is the start, Michelle.
What'd you say?
to read the agenda.
It says all old business and then broadband, new business reports and something at the end that I can't read.
And we don't know whether they've confirmed whether they're coming or not, who's coming.
I don't have that. I know everybody's been sent this and I made a note to make some phone calls when I get out of here. I did speak with Carrie on Friday, as far as I know, he's coming. And then I had spoken with, actually called Steve Powers a couple weeks ago, left him a voicemail, telling him the date of the meeting, the purpose of the meeting. So those two I have been in touch with.
Okay.
I have not been in touch with the third assessor. I think it's Scott.
Scott,
Miller.
right.
When we get out, I can do that.
Yeah, well, Laura and I will try to get a hold of Scott.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Fairness, Keith. You're
All
the
right,
man.
well, I believe today was the deadline for submittals. I got one last one this morning, or two actually, from West Conley. And Joe was gonna pull up
Oh, nice.
about 20 submittals.
You're kidding me. Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
And all of them are, necessarily not titled, but all of them have,
All right, this is the first one. You tell me I don't have the names and everything written next to it.
unfortunately, I don't have, so.
That's okay, it doesn't matter.
What I will do is I will definitely get on a question afterwards, but people have come back and asked me, do you title right now and whatever else. I don't need it. I have the names that people have submitted them. So once we come down to a vote, then I will reach back out and have people identify their title, and then we'll go from there.
Are those the only two you have pictures of?
No, I'm just.
Oh,
Scrolling through.
There's about 20 of them. This is,
Oh,
this is,
that's
so this is from Earl Ross, Hilly Pond Park.
Yeah,
Caught one morning down there,
Hmm.
he's working, he caught it.
oh, that's nice.
One of the snowmobile trails, I can't remember this one,
Looks like a border.
Does.
Is this the border?
possibly. The idea was supposed to be Rangeley, so maybe that he's got.
Yeah, we missed that one.
Maybe, yeah, could be.
He's in a bay or something. This is from West Conley, hiking over, I believe it's Ball Mountain.
It is called, it says in the border.
These are fall, winter.
Fall, winter.
Is that Loon Lake? What are we looking at?
I think that's Kyle Haley, middle, and that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Rangeley.
This is Mingo Springs Trail and Birdwalk. That's kind of
Hmm.
A little dark.
kind
Yes.
of ominous winters.
It
Yeah.
actually came in that way.
Okay. It's a great horizontal picture, but how will it look vertically?
Yeah, you have to.
That would work.
Squish it.
Yeah. That's a good one.
That's pretty.
All of them are hard to imagine how they would look on a banner though.
Right, I know.
And,
Cause like you think of a loon, but if you look at these, it would be like, what is that a picture of?
Right.
Right.
and
So
all
unfortunately,
colors.
a lot of people tried to get in, I think, wonder if people got in the scenic pictures. Some people really brought it, so I bring some wildlife in. So I mean, we'll see that in a minute.
Oh. That's not fall. Well, it is.
Yes, it's, well,
A
who
little
cares?
orange in
It's
there,
spring.
how's that?
Right. Little
When I-
You
pumpkin.
can get away with a deer anytime.
That's right.
That's my view.
It's my garden meters.
Oh, that's pretty.
I think there's a mushroom in one of these.
Okay.
Is it where the leaves have changed though, right?
Right,
There's
leaves are
either-
changing,
yeah.
right here.
Oh,
I like this one, not necessarily as a banner, but I like that picture.
Yeah.
There's one here, pretty soon that I stole off, this one right here, I stole off Facebook this morning, at my house. And I'll tell you the name in a minute. What it is, also you have the fall foliage, but this image right back here, it's actually a rainbow coming down
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
through here. It was kind of cool.
Hmm.
So I mean, it wasn't submitted, but I,
But that would look good on
That one
a
would
banner. That would
oh,
be,
that would be pretty.
that would be good on
Oh,
a
that's
banner. In a box.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That would be fine.
Yeah.
Hmm. Not specific range, then to get that off the.
But that doesn't
Oh,
matter.
that might be
That's
pretty.
really pretty. Where's that?
It's like
Cascades maybe,
Maybe a cascade,
Yeah. Sorry, they aren't all that.
or upper small spas.
just as long as we don't find out it's Utah or something.
Right.
These are from Tammy on the garden here.
That one would work.
Yeah, but it's all scratched up. Here. Oh, how big that poster?
There's a way
The
to,
head of it.
they give you a sample, right? If you sent these to the banner people, they would give you an example, and so we'd see, oh, no, that you can't,
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
see it's orange.
Or-
They'll proof everything and then we'll come back and approve proofs once we have our selection.
I think the winter ones will be a little bit harder because they're more gray, black, white, you know, or
But
you
that
have-
might actually be okay.
yeah, that's true.
I mean, like that one, I think might actually work.
And that's almost like the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
banner size, banner.
Right.
yes.
So this is what we have for submittals now. I mean, we can, obviously know where point we have to start getting some orders in, but
I mean, those are beautiful.
we can still look for other pictures ourselves, obviously.
Well, I think we could pick some now and then we can continue, to ongoing the
Absolutely.
request or whatever.
But we said we were gonna pick or the public was gonna pick.
I think if I recall correctly, we'll narrow it down, is my thought, which at this point, there's only 20.
How many are we looking at?
20.
No, how many do we
So we
need?
want.
Is that what you're
we
asking?
wanted
Yeah.
5
Oh, we
images.
wanted like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Right, because the moose you can keep up,
Good.
the generic moose, right? I mean, there's a couple of those in the loon you could keep up.
Right.
The could come down and go back up and different.
I would take the loon down.
The loon, because it's
Yeah.
not moon
No.
season, okay, so loon's down.
Yeah.
What was the?
The
fourth
moose
one?
one is funny now, they get more, criticism about it now that it's, it's not Rangeley moose or whatever.
Oh.
Nobody really knows.
How do they know it's
Like,
not
but it's like,
Rangeley?
it's not like cats that like you can normally get in Rangeley, I don't know, like.
Well, it's an early moose. It's basically like when the horns are just starting. It's
Right.
not a big
I think
rat
they want
like
like
it is
that.
at the end of the
They want
summer.
that picture of the moose is
In the
full,
water.
the full moose in the background.
All right, so we need to get this out to vote, if we said we were gonna go to the public,
So I can either try to,
just put all 20 on,
or you can just go it that way.
On what?
on the website, right?
We can do it on the
Ask to
website,
vote.
we can do a Facebook, we can do like there's a survey.
Unless, did we say that, sure that the public is voting, or do you wanna just vote, get it done?
Yes, They did.
Okay, so we have to do that.
They're doing that.
So do you want to narrow them down first, or you want to put them all?
Well, I would take the ones that we know totally won't work, like the horizontal, the one that's.
Yep.
Okay.
The banner, I mean, it would be
Alright,
nice
so-
if we could get a sample size, and then, so instead of. When we rank them, we're gonna take the top 5, but we're gonna get samples, I think, for the top 7, just in case
Excellent.
one of those, or
Right.
2 of those don't look good. The other thing I think might be a good idea long-term would be to get a few just generic Rangeley ones,
Right.
just the
Right,
Rangeley seal, the
Right.
Rangeley,
That is still on my board of those yet, still from our last discussion, I still have that written.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put a good order together before I.
Yeah.
Grab.
So then that would be a week, and then you'll get samples to make sure that and then we'll order from the top
Right, so
5 samples.
Let's say today, you narrow it down to 5, 6, 7, or whatever you guys narrow it down to.
So we are narrowing it down. so to say.
Right, well,
I think it makes sense to, like you said, here are the ones that you definitely don't wanna see,
right,
and then we can, if there's still 15, we can still go and I can put it through for proofs.
do
And
we
we'll
pay
come-
for that? Okay. Great, then there's no,
It's like, it's just a paper proof, obviously, but,
right,
they'll
But
give
then-
you an idea of color.
and if we have the public's top 5 picks, those proofs all work great, then we go with those.
So,
So you're doing the proofs before it goes on the Survey Monkey or after? Do you want people to
I
see?
think you
it?
have to see the proof, right?
I think you do,
I think so too.
Okay.
because
So I think
they're
we-
not gonna understand what they're voting for, they're gonna vote for
No.
the prettiest picture and
Absolutely,
not
yeah.
necessarily think about what it looks like on a banner.
All right, so
So I want to start at the beginning and
which ones are we can't, so out of these 20, we need to drop out, what, 5 of them?
I say we keep that.
I say we keep that one.
That one, keep.
All right, so Joe, you can,
so that's number 1. We're gonna call this number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep. You taking notes, Daryl?
Yeah,
Can he see? Oh, yeah, he can.
I can see it very clear, yeah.
There's number 2.
I like that, but that doesn't look like Rangeley to me. That almost looks like the coast to me.
Muslim.
Right.
I mean, you can't see the.
It was either
You
Moose
barely
You
see
can
the
see the
mountains in
mountains
the
on the
back.
background.
So it
Barely.
doesn't it almost look like it's a rocky shoreline?
Just right, skip for now.
Two-step.
Yep, and then we'll go back to that one.
I also, yeah, not sure what you would see on the
Keep.
flag. Keep.
Right.
Number 3 is a keep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would keep that
Keep.
one.
Where's the keep?
That could be very blurry and proof, but
I would keep, because it's a
Hiking.
great hiking and a great fall, but I would love to see a proof.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see some red in there, but yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe the letters could be
there's a writing in. Hmm?
red. Town range.
I mean, you see, I mean, you can barely, you can see the red on the backpack or on.
Yeah, we'll have to discuss that part of it too. Once we get proof, let's discuss how we want to, if you want to, obviously, we want to change a little bit of font. If we want to,
Do it background.
people can't read cursive, that was the complaint, right?
Yeah.
I'm
All
sorry.
right, I'll speed it up. So that was fine, that was keep.
5.
6,
Yes, yeah.
keep.
Yeah.
7,
No,
No, too dark.
skip. 8,
No,
8's a skip.
too long.
It's beautiful.
9,
Also looks summery.
keep,
Keep.
9's a keep. 10,
keep. I don't keep.
10 for me is more like a
Summer.
summer
Summer.
theme.
That's
Yeah,
what I was
that's true.
thinking. That's
Right,
what I
We
was
could
thinking.
keep it for summer.
We can't keep it for summer.
Love to get a picture of them doing.
Right, that
the,
keep, so we don't need to prove of that one for now.
I'll bring that up in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
10's a skip.
Oh, there's a new one?
It's Kyle's, one of Kyle's famous ones, that autumn winter split.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
that's a
it is-
keep.
That's a definite.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be an additional one. I'll
Yeah,
get through.
okay, I didn't know. I just
Yeah.
popped in my head. I go, oh, we're gonna send that book.
There's 11,
You're gonna put that at 11?
I think it's dark.
I don't like, yeah, I think
I think this is number 11. This was
compared to
10.
some of the other ones.
I don't feel like Kyle's pictures are on here. for some reason.
No, I didn't see it. 11, now, it may be in a different folder in your drive.
It should have been all under the end one. There may be some ones that are missing, so
Okay.
there is, I'll send those together.
All right, 11,
No.
skip,
Did you
Well-
say keep 11?
skip,
Yeah,
11.
Oh, skip.
Keep.
Keep,
Keep 12,
It's just beautiful.
13,
keep.
Keep.
13's keep. 14,
I think people are gonna ask what that is.
It's gonna be.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
It
some
has a
joke.
potential.
Maybe conversations.
That's a potential for.
Yeah.
14's a skip,
We could have a contest.
We could on that one.
15. This is the Dead River with.
With the rainbow
Okay.
and the,
This
but
is
we
a-
don't have permission on that one, right?
Not yet, it wasn't submitted, but it was because it's off my phone.
Keep
Yeah,
it for
screenshot.
Keep
potential.
it, yeah.
What's that, 14?
I think that's 15.
But you said it's on Dead River, right?
It looks it.
Yeah, so I will tell you,
So, because we want Rangeley, right?
this is from Laura Casey 3 days ago, and I will ask her.
Okay, so depending on the answer on a location, it's a keep.
15's keep pending. Next is 16.
Keep,
16's a keep. 17,
keep.
keep.
Doesn't really have any Rangeley in it, though.
No. Look around. Those leaves right there are all over the place.
Okay, 18,
Keep, for me.
keep. All right, 19.
All depending on location or.
I think that's too dark,
Yeah,
though, that last deer picture, so I
Yeah.
would say,
Skip.
18 was, that's 18, right?
This is 19. This is 18.
So keep it 18.
so I
19
would
is a
skip that one, I've seen a lot better deer pictures.
Mhm.
And I
this one is
can't even
20.
see.
That's
what
a
Can
that
you make that bigger?
That's a piebald deer,
I can't make it any bigger, I'm sorry.
It's the what?
is this-
piebald. So they're, they're not quite albino,
Oh.
so that they're.
I thought it was snow, that would have been even funny.
That's a piebald.
is. If the proof comes out looking better,
If
then
it
that's a
comes
keep,
out.
right?
This one, is that that's a deer?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was two people. Oh, now I see it.
Laura sorted that.
I thought that was two people.
And, what number is that?
20.
20?
Yeah.
Did you say we
I thought
keep
they
it
were
20,
cross-country skiing.
depending on what it's supposed to look like?
So did that.
What do you think about this one?
I would keep it.
I'd keep it too.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Keep?
That's a definite.
That's off Laura Casey's too.
Well, where does Laura Casey live?
She's
She's in,
chasing
Houston.
foliage.
Here's 21.
Skip.
Looks a little faded
It is faded.
compared to
Yeah.
like Kyle's.
Yeah, and Miss Kyle's.
All right, that's the end of it.
I can't believe we don't have any height of land ones. I mean, height of land's everywhere.
I feel like Kyle gave me.
I would love a nice picture of the giving tree.
Oh, the giving tree.
I don't know if they have anybody,
So-
anybody has any of
Let me check
those.
my.
That would be really nice.
Kyle does. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
taking a nice one, but it was snowing years ago.
Yes.
So we should, maybe we can reach out to Kyle and ask if we can, if he has a giving tree and a. I don't think we need
Now,
height of land,
but do
height of
we
land's
want-
everywhere, but.
Do we want that picture of the snow and the fall, the
Yeah,
I like that one, yeah.
combination?
That's
Cause it's in all of our, you know, that's the picture that's on all the calendars, right?
What calendar?
It's all on the calendar that the, ladies auxiliary sells.
Oh, perfect, great.
And what number is that? Because we don't have it. in
That
the-
was let's make that 21. We all.
22.
Or 22, the Kyle Haley, okay.
The fall with the snow.
Yeah.
So we took it.
So I think we've said keep to most of them, we got rid of like 5.
Right.
We'll
Let's see,
present those
1,
to the
2,
public.
But you
3,
gotta have
4,
something
5,
for people to
6,
pick.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
All right,
And maybe when we ask going forward, maybe we tell them that it's more, just describe how the picture is. I mean, I would think that they would know to.
I'll show you Kyle's right now, and I'll stop it, we'll just over the email.
Okay, because we know we're gonna love Kyle's. Hey,
What's that?
we know we're gonna love Kyle's.
Right.
Yeah, it would be nice to have a cross-country ski one and a skier one, or
Yeah.
or
uh-huh.
snow, I mean, or more of an action version, you know, like we get a lot of landscapes, but no action.
Right.
Like a boat in the summer or a.
If you do that, there's no.
There's no snow.
No,
Well, there was a snowmobile trail at least.
Well, that's true.
I mean, the only thing would be you need permission from the person who's in the photo, right?
Right.
And then you gotta.
Well, we can't just go and get.
What brand? Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna screen share from here.
While he's doing that, the TIF update is that we have, it's good, it's done.
TIF update, so it's actually, we're having a meeting with the select board on October 4th, Daryl's gonna be there, Alyssa will be there, there's one kind of housekeeping thing that we need to take care of. Which is that the effective date, the TIF document was not signed prior to April 1 of this year. So we're going to, and it's actually not signed yet, we're waiting for the DECD commissioner to sign it. And before that happens, they want to know what date we want this to become effective, essentially. And then the other question is, do we want to have that 6 months or whatever it is added on to the other end, so it's a full 30 years. So that's one thing that's going to the board on the 4th, and then we'll get a signed document back. We have a draft already, but
If we start now, we lose all the assessed value.
no, so the assessed value begins on March 31 of this year.
No matter what.
We don't start capturing it until April 1st of 22.
Right.
That's essentially what it comes down to in a nutshell.
Anyways, no matter what we did.
If we had had a signed document prior to April 1 of this year, the town could have started April 1 of 21, but we didn't, we still don't have the signed approval.
We didn't get it approved in time for the state.
Right.
Yeah, so that means we didn't get the assessed value upgrades, all those upgrades.
it will go back to March 31st of this year. We just don't start capturing it until.
Yeah, but March of this year does.
No, I think, but March of this year was from the previous year, correct?
Right, would have been
Right.
the tax year. before that.
Tax year before that.
So I mean, we still are gonna get the same amount of
Still
value,
doesn't
and
get
you're actually gonna make out better if we go the extra 6 months on the other end. You would probably end up with more over the long haul, 30 years.
Well, I think everything has been,
Okay.
not a lot of money even.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot of money even. What we did for estimated how much it would be in there. Wasn't a lot.
So, that's all.
Yeah.
That's just a housekeeping thing. It's pretty typical.
Oh, are you screening? Am I paying attention? Okay, all right, so is this one?
This is Kyle's folder that he submitted to us.
Oh,
Oh, it's your lot.
There's only, maybe 10, 12,
Okay.
so this is the first one to settle that.
Oh,
So can we do keep or not keep?
let's look at them all first if you don't mind.
yeah, just go through them kind of quickly.
There's a lot of Saddleback in here. so-
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I don't know if you'd see that though.
Yeah.
I heard like on that one.
I like that one, yeah.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, right, obviously.
Overall, that-
Yeah,
What do you think?
yep. Oh, yeah, see, now that's a good height of land one, because it's a little different with the streaks and the angle. Coming from 16.
That's it.
Okay,
That's where we go.
But where was the one with the winter and the fall?
I will show you that on the internet.
Okay, I know that one, so it's just,
All right, so, number one,
all right, of all of the Saddleback ones, that's not my favorite, so I would say no, skip.
Good.
Keep,
you keep.
I would keep that one. What's the next one? That one's better.
So
I think
four,
maybe.
oh, I know,
No, you think the other way around? Okay, that one, all
yeah,
That's
right,
four.
keep.
That's no one, five.
but I think you
five.
only want one set.
Just one of those, so the first one,
What number was that?
This one's 5 right here.
no,
5 is enough.
I would say no,
I think it's too busy.
say no,
Yes.
yes.
What number is that?
Did you, Don, say no?
9,
Yes,
I like that one of Saddleback.
Yeah, yes.
I would get rid of all the others and do that one.
I was just thinking because one is more wintry than,
Yeah, but that one's got snow. I don't know.
It's got both, that's all.
CF ride.
Yes.
What number was
maybe,
that one?
If we're keeping,
This would be
yes,
Yeah.
these are all better than any of the other ones, I think.
12,
that's a definite yes
Yes.
for me.
That's
Yes.
great. I like that.
And it has Saddleback in it too.
It has Saddleback, it has a town, it has a covered, ice covered lake,
That's the
yeah,
one.
yeah.
On. It was fun.
okay. 6 Kyle himself.
No. Oh, I see, no.
No,
I didn't see what that was.
yes,
You don't think the color's off?
I don't like that
I
one.
don't like that one. I, the yellow.
right,
I don't think we should do height of lands.
I actually don't either, but that's okay, I like that picture. I like that.
This is Saddleback Lake, looking back up at Saddleback.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
there two of those?
What number is that?
15.
So should, I mean, if we're in Rangeley, you
I
don't
like
think
that.
people are gonna be upset that, just saying,
What?
you don't think people are gonna be upset that Rangeley's paying for the banners and yet we're advertising for,
Saddleback?
yes.
No, well, I
No,
think there
because
should
that's
be
part
one
of
of
our-
Saddleback. I don't think
Yeah.
they should all be all 5, but I think there should be one of Saddleback for sure.
Winter, I mean, that's what we do.
Right.
Just like we're cross-country skiing and snowshoeing and.
Yeah, these are your 2
So-
options of these ones, so fall and fall winter.
I don't,
That's a nice picture, but I don't think on the banner. I think it's too busy.
All right, is this 17?
This would be 17.
Let's go back to
No,
16 so
no.
we can get a determination on that. This is a no.
No,
No,
17,
no,
no.
now,
I mean, I think we could pick our favorite Saddleback one, is probably.
let's stop sharing here for a minute. Let me pull up another.
The only sign that would be like promoting Saddleback would be that one that was kind of fall, winter with the snow.
Saddleback.
And then it had the sign, Saddleback sign, that would be the only
Right.
one, I think that might be like having it in front of Ball Mountain camps.
Right.
And having a picture that said, you know, with BMC right there, that might be a little too like,
Right.
so, you know,
Marketing.
marketing. So maybe we should, I know it was a good picture, but that would be the only one that I would say might have some controversy
Mhm.
about it. I mean, people,
Why are you-
there'll be controversy no matter what you do, but
I know.
you know, that the others are just pictures of our scenic beauty, really from the
We
viewpoint
have
of us.
Saddleback in
Right,
it.
Yeah.
This is off Kyle's, website.
No.
No, no,
it could be in this.
I think that's too
Yeah.
dark.
This is the one that I. love.
Yeah, that's a
that-
yes, we like
that's-
that one.
First of all, that's number 20.
Where's that located?
West Winnebago.
Yep.
Is that a problem?
That's summertime.
I love that picture, but that's summer.
Right,
Right.
this is like the best of everything, I just look at it.
Yeah,
I go to winter real quick, obviously, but
little too muted.
not
Well, but he
That's a
submitted
good
all the
one.
other ones, right?
right, but he said we could use whatever ones you give us
What about
releases.
that one with the church and the?
That's nice to have the
He would give
time.
us releases for whatever one to use, but. he
Yeah,
submitted those.
I would say yes on this one with the church and the Rangeley.
Downtown Rangeley and Autumn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cause that looks like the quintessential, you know, New
Got
England
that
town.
one. That one, see that?
Oh, yes, on that one for me.
Saddleback Mountain with
Yeah.
all full moon. I didn't take notes on these ones, so. I'm gonna just write the names down, it'd be awesome.
I think Joe is.
Just trying to keep up. Some of them are just too dark for banners. That's a nice one.
So what would we say? Yes.
Winnebago Lake,
Yeah.
yes,
Oh, that's a good snow one. I think it's bright enough.
West Winnebago Mountain,
Yeah. Snowmobile trail.
That isn't, is it?
No, that's a
A
road.
road.
It's a road.
Okay.
AKA snow building.
yeah, we worked with those.
Well, one of our roads.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We got that one.
Okay.
Oh,
This-
that's
this
not.
is- This is not, this is great, yeah.
That's over in Phillips, that's down in Phillips.
Yeah.
The top Saddleback Mountain.
No, I feel like he submitted his pictures, we should do the ones he submitted. I mean, we could go through everyone's, we could go through everyone's
Yeah.
pictures and find a billion of these.
All right, I think that's a good start, but we don't wanna have, we don't wanna send out 40 proofs, right?
Right.
And we have like, we now have more than 15, we now
Yeah,
have, because we
20.
just added.
Yeah.
So why don't you guys just
Knock it down.
knock it down?
Okay.
Pick one Saddleback or
One
one,
of the
you know,
Saddlebacks.
and then we'll get it.
I
Cause
just,
we gotta keep going.
I have to
We're,
go.
yeah, she's gotta go, we gotta,
Thank you.
all right. So 1 week to decide from the thing, then group, then go, then we do, you send it out and we'll vote.
correct.
Order,
Thank you for all that.
thank you. We still, just for a long-term, not even a long-term thing, we gotta remember the lighting thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Part of the conversation, when I tried calling that woman 3 times, we've played phone tag, so I haven't been able to connect with her, so.
Speaking of lighting, what are your druthers on wreaths and other items? Do you want to mix
Yeah.
some of that in with this?
I think we need to until we
What are your
get some.
thoughts?
No,
No,
Kind of too late.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
not too late, so I removed in order for banners, I'm gonna take all the brackets down for what would have been Reese positions, so without putting all the stuff back up. I- That was one downfall right now,
Okay,
not that I can't make a new,
Why are we voting on banners if we're gonna put up the wreaths too?
Well, I was just saying for the lighting
Christmas
purposes.
no, the question was, do you want to mix some of it in, so you
Yeah.
don't read
Right.
here or there? Not substitute, I'm just curious, I want to flush that out now.
Okay, so the
As
answer is
opposed to
no.
November.
well, we can, I just have to go back up, though. We have to go back up, which isn't.
So you would
If you just
eliminate
did
a
a few-
flag pole and put a wreath instead of there? Is that what we would do?
Well, it would be more money, I don't think we budgeted for that.
Yeah, so we also, we have the current decorations, we have the wreaths and some of the, lit, whatever things that they are. Don't really fly American flags throughout the winter. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. I guess, however, as long as it's listed on rotation,
Yes, so the
it's a
only,
pattern that's nice.
yeah, the only thing I like about the Christmas decorations is the lights.
Lights.
So that's, but so if we can light the banners and it still looks pretty, it won't look Christmassy, but it will look lighted and,
That would be my only thing is we're not really doing anything different at Christmas time, which is
yeah.
kind of or holiday time.
I can definitely,
So maybe we could.
we
put
can,
the-
we can incorporate some for sure.
So do the wreaths, for sure, those were
Just
the
the
wreaths. How many wreaths do you have?
If you want the real wreath, like if you want like the actual bow looking wreaths, or you want the lit ones, because I mean, it's not the lit, just the light, like the presents, socks, all that stuff. We have, I don't know, 5 kind of each. 5
So
each. They have like full wreaths, and I probably have 15 of that actually work fully. They're like the 4-footers or
Oh,
something.
So
yeah,
those
yeah.
are what you used even before.
Right. One's actually, wreath wise look better, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we can figure that out. No big deal.
Obviously, you don't want to do huge expense to the town, but it would be nice to put some wreaths up.
Yes, we can do that.
Okay. Is there any update on the signs, wayfinding signs?
Yes, so Aquasic, I think may have 2, has 2 signs left off intentionally. I need to figure out if the wording or arrows are correct. It's kind of conflicting with, has like a park with an arrow. And it has like a restaurant on the right, which I get, but I don't know if it's gonna be adequate for what our intention of is, and telling people where things are. It just says park, public park or public something, doesn't make any sense to me. So there's 2 signs I thought it was it, and then also we have some toppers that need to go, once we get the new toppers for Sandy River. So on the in-town, the 8 that we, for in-town directly will be completed. And then obviously all I have is the 4 gateways.
So on the 6th of October, they're doing a ribbon cutting in Madrid.
Correct.
And that's where one of our gateway signs is, will it be in by that?
So I can get, it's this potential for me, but I don't know where Sam's at. Sam's behind on printing signs.
Okay,
So I have to ask, touch base with him.
What does the one there say?
there isn't one in Madrid right now.
But-
I mean, we need to put one
yeah,
there.
it would be a,
Welcome to the
Yeah.
Rangeley region, or I think it says Rangeley, entering the Rangeley region or something. I don't know what it says exactly on
Can't we
top.
use the topper from the Sandy River, or did we never get those printed?
But that says well to
I think these ones
Rangeley,
are actually a little bit bigger too.
yeah. Yes, they're bigger, they're different.
Different wood for sure.
And then that one, I think, just says Rangeley, full
Yeah.
town, that might have small falls on there, I
18
can't
miles,
remember,
whatever it
yeah,
is, 2 miles for small falls from that point.
yeah. Okay,
Fingers crossed, we can hopefully just get that one in, or at least.
It doesn't say welcome to Rangeley, right, in Madrid, because then Madrid's gonna say it's not right.
wait, no, the one that was the Sandy
We
River
just
one
ran into that.
that we had to get rid of and change.
Right.
Said welcome to Rangeley, so we can't use that there,
Okay.
yeah. I hope not, I haven't looked at those proofs again for ages.
I need to go back.
I don't remember seeing one in Madrid.
We haven't put it up yet.
No, I mean, a proof for it.
Oh, no, it was all in
Was-
that same document. By the way, all the selectmen reviewed it, had like weeks to review it, and then we went back to them and they all voted they were all right. So
Well, there
We
was-
all, like 20 of us,
Did you
missed
go to
the
the
fact
plant
that
pages?
that had
The
said.
plant pages got
Rangeley
closed.
Plantation. No, we didn't go to the.
I tell you what, Sam laughed. My dad, can't quite right now. He laughed, like, there was definitely some, probably irritation there, because he's like, he went through 20 people over 2 years, and we never caught this.
Yeah,
But it was just, really, he wasn't like put off by it, but it was kind of comical, but he probably was like, have to rush to get somewhere else, so we can correct it. He's like,
Yeah.
busy, you know,
the only other thing about the banners that, just to go back, font, you wanna do block, right, because wasn't that
So the
complaints about
Aquasic-
cursive?
So Aquasic, I think, is the only one that really, to me, like Rangeley, I don't mean, we choose whatever, it doesn't matter. Rangeley is legible
Right,
for anybody, I think. Aquasic, if you don't know what the word is,
that's why it's hard,
Yeah,
because
you
it's
know,
like, it's hard enough to
it's-
even
it
have
is.
people know that it's a classic.
So maybe we change
we can look
the,
at font change for that for sure, and with banners, another question was, depending how we want to, do you still want the same welcome to or whatever, do you want to like change the happy holidays, or do you want to have some different wordage within that anyway?
yeah, okay,
You
well,
know?
think
So we'll
about
have to look at
that.
that too when we start
Okay.
marking up things.
Just one quick other thing is, with the wayfinding signage, with opening up that Madrid thing, they're gonna be doing that ribbon cutting, you know, to have that all finished up and all that stuff. So it has the DOT, so Joe has been, working, we had that meeting prior, that's moving forward, there's some excitement level from DOT's point of view to help out Rangeley, so we'll see where that goes, but that's coming up. All right, we got the tip update, parking.
Parking hasn't gone anywhere.
We're gonna follow up.
We're gonna follow up.
We just haven't gotten to it.
Okay.
But my thought is to try to get something up there for this winter, it just won't be huge. We'll follow up on
So October 11th is Columbus Day.
that. Indigenous Peoples' Day.
It says it on here,
Oh, okay.
Columbus Day, I'm
Okay.
sorry. 18th of October. That work for people?
I think so.
I'm gonna say yes, and if I make it, I make it.
Is that the same? Is that the third Monday of the month?
Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
is that a bad thing?
No, that's okay.
Right. Make a motion to join the meeting at 10:34.
Second? Aye. Done. I don't know if we have a forum, do we? Yes, we do.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
You do.
With
I
three.
remember the bathroom,
Yeah.
and I think we should.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Darrell.
Thank
you. All right, way to go.
Hello, everyone. Thank you.